might I say, that title screen, pretty amazing. You can already tell what time it is. It's time to talk about one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo, Tetris Attack. I've been wanting to do a video on this game for a while now because, oh man, it's just so damn good. Now, of course, there are a lot of good puzzle games out there ranging on every console known to mankind, but there are a few actually worth raving about, and Tetris Attack, along with the many different games in the series, are definitely some of those games. I'll be highlighting this one mostly, but I'll give you guys a bit of a history lesson also. So without further ado, let's get this puzzle fest started. Now, as you can plainly see, despite the actual name of the game, this has absolutely nothing to do with the original Tetris. Instead, Tetris Attack is what's known as a match 3 puzzle game, simply meaning that your goal is to swap a bunch of different blocks to match upwards of 3 of the same color, so imagine a scrolling Bejeweled of sorts. The stack of blocks that you play with is constantly scrolling upward, and the only way to freeze the screen for a bit is to be a major pro and nail at least 4 blocks in a swap or hit a sweet combo. But you do always have the ability to force the screen upward on your own accord if you want to use some more blocks at the risk of possibly ending your game. And if you've seen some videos of some real pros at work, you will know that some people can produce some magical combos. But that's the basic understanding of how this game works, and it's incredibly addicting, but there's a bunch of different ways the game changes it up. Firstly, there are 5 different gameplay modes for single player. There's Endless mode, which you could probably already guess is endless, but the longer you last, the faster the screen gets. And honestly, I've easily had upwards of 40-minute play sessions in this mode alone. It's pretty awesome. There's Time Attack, which is similar but keeps track of how many points you get within 2 minutes. Stage Clear puts a clear line somewhere down the lift, and you just have to progress in the stage long enough to get the blocks under that line. Puzzle Mode has you study a setup and learn how to clear the screen with a limited amount of moves, and it's a perfect way to learn how to set up some combos. And of course, both that and Stage Clear have a bunch of different levels to play through, so it'll definitely take a while to complete. And lastly, there's Versus Mode, which is sort of like the story mode of the game, I guess you could say. Yoshi's friends, which were all enemies in Yoshi's Island, are under Bowser's control, and only by the power of filling their screen with blocks can you set them free. 'Cause video games. But the gameplay here is pretty much the same, except nailing more than 3 in a swap or hitting a combo will throw blocks of garbage on the opponent's screen and vice versa, which makes for some pretty intense battles on the harder difficulties. But that's not it, there are also 2 two-player modes as well, with Time Trial being a timed score attack and Versus being a survival game. So there's certainly a lot of different ways to play here, and if you ever need any tips on how to improve, Yoshi has no problem helping you out, because he's a bro like that. But before I move on, I want to talk about Versus Mode for a bit here, since this was always my favorite of all the modes. Now, when it comes to puzzle games, we all know most of them don't really have any sort of goal to achieve. It's usually just a self-set goal and you just play until you get better. But to me, and this may seem weird, but to me there is a goal. Versus Mode has an easy, normal, and hard mode, and none of them aside from the end of hard mode are a huge challenge. It can take about a half an hour to complete without dying. But, by holding up and L while selecting hard mode, you unlock very hard mode. And this is the main test of your skill. I have never had a more on the edge of my seat experience with a puzzle game in my life, and people who haven't played the mode have no idea. Doing this difficulty easily took me over 2 hours since I kept dying, and dying, and dying, and dying. It doesn't insanely ramp up until you get to the final few of Bowser's minions, and when you get to Bowser himself, oh god. Oh, is that an 8 combo you're making a minute into the match? Good, no, it's good, yeah, it's good. Oh, and look at this. I lost it not even 20 seconds into the game. Oh god, yeah, good luck with this mode. You will need it. Now, as you can also plainly see, this game is heavily inspired by Yoshi's Island, as all the characters are ripped right out of it. And the music. Oh, man, the music. Now, you'll notice a trend with me. I like to rave about game music pretty often, but this soundtrack? It's so good. Each character has their own theme song, and each one is awesome. What a shocker, you know, a Super Nintendo game with a fantastic soundtrack. I can't even fathom that. The only slight downside to the music is that it changes when the stack is near the top of the screen to make it seem more tense, but really, that's barely a complaint. It just changes from one awesome song to one awesome tense song. Easily, without a doubt, this game is within my top 5 soundtracks for the Super Nintendo. It's just way too good to not say that. And again, the game is based on Yoshi's Island. I don't think you could ever go wrong with basing anything off of Yoshi's Island. So all in all, I enjoy a lot of puzzle games out there. Games like Dr. Mario, the original Tetris, but there are only a few that I outright love, and Tetris Attack is definitely at the top of that list. Because really, and I'm gonna be completely honest here, this game is nearly perfection. I can't find a single thing wrong with it. The gameplay mechanics are all solid and, as I said, incredibly addicting. Any difficulty is set by choice and the really hard modes are really hard. There are a lot of different modes to play through. The music is the stuff of heaven, and it's based on Yoshi's Island, one of the greatest platformers ever made. So, if you have a Super Nintendo, it's pretty essential that you add this stellar puzzle game to your collection. But before I close off tonight, let's get on with that history lesson. The game we know as Tetris Attack didn't always have Yoshi on it. In Japan, where the game is known as Panel de Pon, the game had a cast of young cutesy witch girls instead. And clearly, it's kind of obvious why they felt the need to change that. The main character in the game was named Lip, so if you ever wondered where the Smash Bros. Item Lip's Stick comes from, well there you go. Brawl also had a sweet remix of Lip's theme, which is the tutorial music for the game, and it's so good. I'm playing it right now so you can hear it, but just look it up and listen to it for yourself. It'll do your ears some major good. Lip also made an appearance in the Japanese Wii game Captain Rainbow. I'd say more about it, but we never got that game. Panel de Pon was later remade for the Japan-only Nintendo Puzzle Collection on the GameCube along with Yoshi's Cookie and Dr. Mario. When the Super Famicom version was brought outside Japan, the game was obviously renamed to Tetris Attack to grab some more money, and I have a copy, so apparently it worked. But apparently, one of the higher-ups of the Tetris company regrets letting Nintendo use that name, as he believed it diluted the brand. Which makes perfect sense when you think about it, because a successful spin-off would tarnish a series, whereas porting the original Tetris to every console known in existence would keep it pure. It's perfectly sound logic. Tetris Attack also had a version for the Game Boy, which had the Yoshi theme even in the Japanese version. And the Super Nintendo version that we have was later released in Japan through their online Satellaview service. There are videos out there that describe the service in more detail, but basically it let users download games to their Super Famicom through a cable connection, which is pretty cool. And since then, there have been multiple new games in the series, starting off with the most popular, Pokemon-based ones for the N64 and Game Boy Color. Pokemon Puzzle League for the N64 features some new modes like a 3D playing field, and is notably the only Pokemon game to actually feature Ash and be directly based on the anime, sorta more so than Yellow version did. And it wasn't even released in Japan. Think about that one. The soundtrack for the game consists of songs from the anime and the 2BA Master soundtrack, so instant nostalgia, especially for those who actually remember that soundtrack. The game is available for the Virtual Console while Tetris Attack isn't, and is one of those mystifying N64 games that actually uses the D-pad. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge on the Game Boy Color, however, is based around Gold and Silver, while League is based on Red and Blue. And while that may seem pretty minute, it pretty much makes both versions worth playing. But then after that, we didn't really see a game in the series for a few years, but after a short hiatus, a pretty basic version of Puzzle League was brought out to the Game Boy Advance with Dr. Mario, and another pretty basic version was released for the DS in Planet Puzzle League. But that version has the benefit of using the touchscreen to swap blocks, and has online multiplayer, technically making it the best version of Puzzle League even though there's no sort of special themes to it. And lastly, a condensed version of the DS game was released on DSiWare known as Puzzle League Express. It scrapped the online features but has the convenience of being downloadable and a whole lot cheaper. And so far, that is the last game in the series. So with that, my bros, this is the Puzzle League series in a nutshell. Hope you didn't mind the little history lesson here, but the moral of the story is that Puzzle League is a series that everyone should try out, and really, like many others, pick a favorite between Tetris Attack and Pokemon Puzzle League, because really, those are the only two games in the series that people actually care about. All we really need now is a new Puzzle League game that does what Tetris DS did and fill the entire thing with Nintendo characters. Oh man, that would be so glorious. Come on now, Intelligent Systems. You clearly know how to still make puzzle games if Pushmo is any indication, so don't let me down. And I swear, if you do, I will probably just keep playing Tetris Attack. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the review, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to click the links here to watch my older videos and follow my stupid Twitter account. And just to let you guys know that starting now, I'll be trying to do my best to get a review out every weekend, so if you have any game you want to see me touch on, by all means let me know in the comments. I definitely have a review planned for next week, so stay tuned. So with all that said, I'll catch y'all next time.